reporting, especially since so many people aren't here. Make sure that we have it in the notes. Again, thank you and welcome for coming. I think we're going to go over the agenda. We have some announcements we're going to make, of course, some winter actions. We're going to check in on the We the People Amendment. And
give me that big bowl down.
We'll go over the end of the year fundraising, our upcoming events, and then of course
toward the fridge.
I hear you, Gene. And then we will get to hear my favorite part, which is the grassroots and affiliates announcements. And that's when you have your opportunity to share with us what you are doing, which is always, like I said, my favorite part of the agenda. I would like to take a minute right now. As you notice, some of our staff are not on board. We have a couple of people out sick, and also Alfonso, he's been with his mom, helping care for her while she's been going through cancer. And this morning, she stopped the fight and is no longer in pain. And I just wanted to take a minute to recognize him and what he's going through. And, it's just been a really reflective day for all of us on staff. And in recognizing the changings of time, and also feeling very blessed and grateful that we're getting to do this work, which is, some of the best work. We know that our work is working for fundamental, to end fundamental injustices in our society. And again, I thank you all for being on this journey with us. So everybody here has been here, but I will go over a quick review of our participation protocols. We use a stack system. So if you would like to get on stack, have comment or question, just raise your hand or write stack in the chat, and we will give you that opportunity. And I don't have my list in front of me. Is that all the protocols that we need? Greg?
Yeah, it's good.
Sorry,
I think
kind of lost my thought in Alfonso for a minute. All right, we want to go over the announcements that we have?
Sure. Thanks, Jenny. And thanks again to all of you to be on this call, given the season. It is, I guess you could call it Solstice Eve, right? With tomorrow being winter solstice. And so we're going to make an announcement about that program that hopefully you've been made aware of. But before that, just a few announcements. And if you're following along on the agenda, one has to do with that which we've made maybe brief mention of before, but we are in earnest going to be having a retreat for that consists of board and staff during the middle of February. It's something we've not done for a couple of years, and we've sort of operated kind of not haphazardly, but it just isn't the same. When you're not together and you're pressing the flesh, and you pick up and then feed off one another's energy as well as good ideas. And so we've lacked that. And I think we've made the best out of it, and may do, maybe more than do, but it is once again time to come together and sort of take a chance collectively to pause, to step back, to reflect. It's what, this season actually does call us all to do, that we will try to carry forth that mindset and that spirit to sort of take a temperature of where we are internally, as well as where this strange world of ours is politically, economically, socially, ecologically, ethically, externally is, and try to find the place, the strategic place, the important place for us to be in terms of the work, the allies, the the tactics, the money needed, the energy required, and the role that all of you. And so leading up to that, we will certainly be surveying, getting your input as to what we shouldn't do, and trying to take best practices from what has gone on in places like where you are, that we can bring to that table, and come up with something that we can then share by way of this is what we've come up with. What do you think about it? And how can we work on all this together? So more details to come, certainly by next call. Since between now and the next couple of weeks, we'll be getting together and formulating a draft agenda and figuring out what tools we need to people like our affiliates and advocates. So be watching for that. Next are movement, education, empowerment talks. These are to be sort of external opportunities to reach out in your community. I think an important part of what we will be talking about in our retreat is, the need to maybe have not just sort of external meets, but internal meets with our advocate leaders, people who have been active or maybe not active, but by coming to you virtually, by having one or two national people with some of you would be a good excuse to reach out to some of the individuals who maybe have stepped back temporarily, or to bring forth new individuals to just sort of figure out what you're doing, what you'd like to do, how we can help, and what's needed, both locally as you take your own temperature, and what can be done that makes sense, and that is helping the cause synergistically in what we're trying to do nationally. So we'll be having more information about those. Obviously, this time of year is not one where people are keen on coming together and doing political work, but that kind of work is sort of never ending. And New Year's is don't look now, but really a week from Sunday. So, and just a couple days after that is the swearing in of the new Congress, and then here we go. And next year is going to be quite a year, as every year is, but my goodness. Some things to be very mindful of in terms of challenges, but also opportunities. So anyway, more about these meets, both internal and external, next month. News, a few things that if you've not checked out that link, please do so. A few items, missives have been put out there. Feel free when it makes sense to share, since you can just take that link and use that either to embed in an email or in a Facebook posting, or Instagram, or whatever the case may be. Twitter, assuming you haven't been yanked off Twitter yet. Even I guess recently I saw a Santa tracker account was thrown off Twitter for who knows what. So it's a strange place we're in. But anyway, opportunities to spread the word about those pieces that we have produced, that try to have some content that, again, take issues that are out there, either timely, historical, or in the news, and to the We the People Amendment and the issues behind them. The EcoNet is something that continues. I don't think we are having are we? I don't think so. I don't think we're having a meeting in a gathering in December. But there
we already had that.
Oh, we already
We had that.
so we're not gonna have that, right.
12th of January is the next
12th of
meeting.
January. Okay, 12th of January. So watch for that. Thanks for that. The National Lawyers Guild resolution on corporate constitutional rights did pass by a near 83%. It squeaked by. And so we are I've been in touch with the national office to see now how we can work together to implement part of the resolution called for some of the non-stated items to now try to work with chapters, affiliates, individuals who may be members that may not have formal affiliates or chapters, either locally or statewide, to get them up to speed on the amendment, how these issues around corporate rule are into the courtroom, because certainly they do. Some of you may know the corporate crowd is working overtime to try to make juries as powerless and ineffective and irrelevant as possible. And there are other things going on within rooms, but of course the NLG does most of their good work outside in trying to have real activist attorneys working in communities. So we hope to formulate a closer working relationship, and I, as a member, will be trying to, connect with individuals who may be part of a relevant committee that this resolution will best land in, that we can use as a springboard to reach out to affiliate chapters that may be in some of the same geographic places as some of our affiliates or advocates. So there may be some ways to connect there. We will be exploring inside out, and of course, from where we are, outside in suggestions we may have for the Guild. You can watch anytime while doing whatever. The piece we did just after the elections on assessing those midterms and what they mean for us going forward. A reminder to please, it's how we know what's taking place and can give kudos work you are doing in our newsletter. And that best comes from us not sort of guessing, but easily going to the place where those are land. So please, whatever work you're doing, submit your form at that particular place, and in your monthly affiliate reports. And then tell us about your experiences participating in the movement education plan. There's a form to be filled out there. And lastly, we do offer, again, going into 2023, for those of you who may be involved in doing or want to do a program but don't have your own Zoom account, we have a second one made available. Please take us up on that offer. There you have it. Any questions, comments, concerns, queries?
Yeah, okay. Again, I recognize folks who are having an issue getting in. I'm not sure what the problem is. Mine was smooth, my connection to get in, but I've had issues too. We will try to dig into it with Zoom though and find out why. That might be a consistent problem. I love Patty's video there for a second. She looked like she was in another world.
Pretty psychedelic there.
Right. We have some winter action ideas, of course, always petitioning opportunities in person or electronic through the website. Again, this is how we are able to build our base, which is really important. It's also what we use when we go when we go to meetings with reps, to encourage them to sign on, what they have, and how many constituents they have in the area that has signed the pledge. So that's we're almost to 500,000, and we're this close, so we can hopefully push it over the edge before the end of the year. Share. Pledge to amend, of course. We talked about this last week, but 169 candidates have signed. Until they're sworn in, they're technically, to be reps. It's a good way to still reach out to them. And also finding out who in your proximity might have signed the pledge that won their election. This would be a good time to look at that and see, and then, make sure they're on board and ready to reach out to Elise to let them know that they would like to be an original co-sponsor. Of course, sponsoring the meets. We have several of those going on, a way to energize, a way to connect with other organizations in your area and bring them together. Meet could be a good way to do this. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to affiliate support and we'll get you set up with that. and give all the support that you need. And meeting with your Congress rep, or if you have a new rep, again, this is a perfect time to reach out to them and let them know that you'd like them to be original co-sponsors. It makes it a little easier if they already were, but that campaign will be kicking off right after the first of the year. We're really excited about getting that started. Of course, we have our new legislative director, who will also be there to help support all the efforts on the ground as well. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments about any of that? All right. I want to roll it over to you, Greg, for the We the People Amendment check-in.
Yeah, and again, we're sorry that Dolores could not be with us. She is under the weather, so I will inadequately try to fill in for her related to this. She has been more in touch than any of the rest of us with Rep. Paul's office. I think we may have mentioned last month that we were going to have a meeting, or did we already have that? Man, lose track of time, but we did have a very productive meeting with Elise Phillips, the very best aide we have had when we've been working with Representative Jayapal. She is really very supportive of the work that we're, and in fact, just sort of a side little comment and anecdote is that when giving the description to an incoming class, I think it was a high school class from in the district that I think was in Washington. She was talking about the work, and when she talked about the amendment, they were the most excited about what it is that Jayapal is doing on our behalf than any of the other things that she was doing. So I don't know what that says. There's a variety of takeaways there concerning the issue, concerning the youth and the intersection there. But I think that sort of underlined and affirmed her interest in what we're doing, and we hope Jayapal as well. And toward that end, the aide we met with felt that the suggestions we had, the requirements and requests we had for her, Representative Jayapal, coming up in the 118th Congress to kick off the amendment was more than reasonable, and those included to send out from her a notice to all the previous co-sponsors to try to get them to sign the start, so we don't necessarily have to go back and start all over again as we did, as we always do. And there's some value in that, and each time of course trying to get people a bit more up to speed on this issue. But nevertheless, if people can re-up right away, then we can turn our attention to other districts. But we shall see. But in terms of getting her to be more visible in connecting this issue to the other work she does and the other issues she's behind, to not keep the We the People Amendment and ending corporate rule and big money in elections in such a vacuum-packed sealed container, but to bring it out and connect it to things like healthcare and to issues like the environment, of which she is taking a leadership role as president or head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And then to try to have some initial event, kickoff event, when this is formally introduced, to do something with us, maybe a webinar, but also something, maybe a press conference in DC, something that attracts attention, that will bring maybe a regional, if not national press to bear. So all of those things, Elise didn't seem to blink an eye on. We shall see, but we're about those and other asks to try to make out of the gate this effort more visible and more spirited, and I think more connected from what we're trying to do, because we're the outside people trying to put pressure from the grassroots up, and she's inside trying to put the pressure from the inside out, and we basically do need one another on this. So anyway, that's the update on where that stands. We have 94 co-sponsors, and if we just go down, just skipping a couple of these things, we'll come back to the others. We just had a meeting last week, several of us, with Representative Veronica Escobar, her aide. Here it is in the last week. The aide said, I don't know whether they will choose to sign on now, but I'm pretty confident that my boss will do so, whether it's in the 117th Congress or right out of the gate in the 118th Congress. And of course, the new session begins when all these congresspersons are sworn in on January 3rd. So who knows? We may get a fifth co-sponsor along with Jayapal here before the end of the year, or an early committed person to be one of the original co-sponsors in the 118th Congress. Maybe Lawrence or someone else on the call from California can give an update as to where the effort with Senator Padilla is. There have been a couple of meetings, and I know there is a commitment to just keep the pressure up. And then the Minnesota State Coalition met with to work on her, and I think the other senator as well, but beginning with Klobuchar for the 118th Congress. There is in a number of different quarters, California, Minnesota, elsewhere, who knows, maybe Pennsylvania, with a new senator there. There just may be some opportunities that we have not sort of mined that we need to, that we'll be talking about. Okay, and then I already mentioned about Jayapal's staff, and anything else there other than just the regular repertoire of strategies that when we begin, of course, the initial ask will be, and we're going to be announcing earlier or before the end of the call, a tentative sort of sometime within a certain period of time to do pretty early on in January, a legislative briefing for those who want to remind themselves of the steps and the ways to reach out initially to your congressional rep to get them on board to become an initial co-sponsor. We know, of course, not exactly when the amendment will be introduced because, of course, we have entered our to maintain number 48, which who knows when HJR 47 will be introduced for officially we can get it in to the Congress, the basic congressional bank. So it may be as early as February as it was 2 times ago, or as late as, what was it, this 117th Congress, maybe May? So time will tell, but there's work to be done at the front end of that we can all be a part of, that you will be hearing from us about. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that update. Does anybody have any questions, comments, ideas, thoughts on the update? Just go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the sponsors from last time. They're currently, and there's 94 of them co-sponsors, and I'm looking at the names, and I just see this is going to be, I imagine it's going to be even more people coming up in the next session because money is downright the determining power in so many of these elections. I think people know that now, if they didn't before.
Yeah, absolutely. The year that Citizens United was decided, it was 126 million for that election. In the Senate runoff election alone, Warnock spent more than that, 136 million. Outside money, 256 million, more than. So yeah, it's gotten a little bit out of control. Not that it wasn't insane before, but it's just how do you get to the truth? And I just recently watched Obama's old it was his press conference, his last you know how they meet the press, they go to the press dinner. I can't think of exactly what they called it, but
Yeah, the annual press.
Yeah, and they do the roasting, and you know, and it was just the difference of 4 years before that, before Citizen United was decided, and the difference, the whole tenor of everything is just insane. Anyway, moving on.
Just to say that, we did lose a few sponsors, people who chose to run for different offices, successful or not, so 1 or 2 deaths. And a couple people, because of gerrymandering or losing congressional seats by states, lost a couple people that way, either combined districts or lost an election. So we did lose a few, but not many. But you're quite right, Sandy, that a number of people were elected that would seemingly be very open to not just sort of perfunctorily sign on, but hopefully, do what you're saying, sort of make the connection, connect the dots, talk about this, not in the abstract, but in context. And that's what I think our charge is as well when we reach out to our respective people. It's not only to ask them to co-sponsor that, but also to look at this as a tool, an educational tool, and of course, a political tool, an organizing tool from their end to promote their particular causes. Why it's easier or more often than not harder to get what they want, that of course we're using as well. So I think there will be many, many more opportunities to bring this out and take off sort of we always make connections, but they don't. And it's going to be, I think, really important on us. And one of our, I think, requests, if not, general demands on them, is to connect this issue, to connect these concerns to what it is they hold near and dear.
Yeah. Thank you both for that. Excellent points. Do we have anything else on that? Anyone else want to weigh in on that conversation? Or?
Did Lawrence, you have an update on what's happening in California? Same with Jeff and with Klobuchar.
In
Well, I
Deanville
really
with Asa.
haven't been thinking about it too much, actually. Kind of caught me off guard. I'll pass right now, but I'll try to come back if somebody else can't fill in for me. I bet you Michael probably could fill in for me.
And I could pipe in just briefly on Klobuchar. We had a meeting it was a couple of days before Thanksgiving, the 22nd of November, with her staffer on the Rules Committee, Allison Hunn. And it was very cordial and whatnot. We made our best pitch we could. We buttered it up a bit, saying we were interested in her work on antitrust too. Was there anything people at the grassroots level could do to support that? And she promised she was not a person involved with that she'd pass it along, and was telling us everything Klobuchar was involved with. Our impression was she's not going to be a lead candidate to do anything for frontline support to introduce an amendment in the Senate, but we're keeping the connections open back and forth with Allison Hunn, and it could be possible she could be a supporter if a bill does get introduced, but we're in a holding pattern with her, and looking for the time when we might approach the other senator, Tina Smith, again too. That may be in the works this next year as well. So
Thank you
that's
for that
about it.
update.
Sure.
And hope they come to their senses and decide to just introduce it for us. Okay. There'll be more opportunity for updates at the end of the agenda. So let's move on. 2022 end of the year fundraising season is here. That's what we've been spending most of our time doing. I want to thank everybody who helped with donor cards. That's a big, it's one of the most intimate ways that we communicate with our donors, right? Handwritten cards are kind of from a bygone era in a way, and they're also very personal. It is for me while I'm filling them out. I'm feeling, very connected to what we're doing. So I wanted to raise that up. We also have, we're doing fundraising calls right now. And, we get most of our funding in the last couple of days of the year, but during the fundraising window to keep and to be on people's radars for their end of the year giving, those fundraising calls are just a great way to connect, let folks know what we're doing, our accomplishments for the year, our plans for next year. And we have quite a bit this year, so it's a good thing to share. Still coming out strong after the pandemic. So if anybody's interested in helping with fundraising costs, just add your name to the chat and we'll connect with you later. Another big thing is after the first of the year, and this to me is one of the best and the funnest calls to make because it's just a thank you call. And then also, to get them excited about what we're doing in the coming year, to build that enthusiasm. And we could always use help there too. We don't have, y'all know how our funding is, we don't have any corporate funding. We don't have government funding. We don't have these big PACs or super PACs or anything like that. So when we connect with people, we're connecting with individuals and thanking them. And I think it's one of the fun ways. I've had some great conversations with people doing it that way. I wanted to pull it up. We looked at it earlier. I think it was 243 individual donations. And, these range from $3 to $7,500, but mostly we're a working class grassroots funded levels. So, and that's so far this year, that's great support. So I just wanted to share that with you. Also, another great way to connect with people is creating a short 2 to 3 minute video. That's the thing now, right? Everything is about the videos, but you also have this little bitty window to catch people's attention. And, writing a why I support Move to Amend, or, recording a couple minute why you support Move to Amend, why you feel that it's important. Those can be very powerful ways to connect and to share your story, and other people connect with your story and to understand the issue. And, like Greg said, it's not an abstract issue, right? These, corporate personhood, corporation as a person affects us deeply in our daily lives, in our communities. And these are just great ways to reach out to people and to share your story. And if you want to do that, we would love to have them. Just send them to Alfonso. If you need any help with that, or if you're unsure of how to get started, reach out. We'll figure it all out together. Personal donations help us jointly raise $48,000 for the HJR 48. You can also become a monthly donor if you haven't yet. The sustaining donors, of course, is the best way for us to be able to budget and to know that, most of our money goes to staff and to our database, right? We keep it a low overhead. All of us work more than, we're limited at 30 hours a week. And as you all know, we're here way more than 30 hours a week. So we give in our time and in our money as well. And because we're all in this together, and just as y'all do as volunteers, we are as committed to this work and what we're doing. Also, make a legacy donation. As Alfonso was talking about before, including MTA in your will is a great way. And we recognize that we can still the power of our work and our message can go on through making a legacy donation. So creating an affiliate support page. Santa Rosa County has done this and has had some really good success with it. And it's just a great way to raise up your affiliate, what they're doing, and to kind of track what's coming in through your affiliates. So if that's something that y'all want to do, reach out and we'll help you get that set up. You can also set up a personal fundraising page, and which would be your personal page on Move to Amend and your profile. So it's a way to share part of yourself with what's going on. And we have some examples there if you're interested. These are the folks who have committed to creating a Why I Support Move to Amend video: Ryan Miller, Mark Harding, Lawrence Abbott, Karen Grissom, and Jean Birdshaw. I'm not sure if y'all have done it yet. I haven't connected with Alfonso on it, but if you're, if you're stuck on something, please let us know. If you've done that, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, or want to volunteer in the end of the year fundraising? Yes, Sandy.
I seem to remember doing this before, and it seemed like there was some sort of app or program or something we were given for that. Is that not necessary? Do we just record ourselves? How is that done?
Yeah, just you can use your phone or your laptop, however you want to do it, and record it. Your story, your elevator story, why you moved to Amend. What is it? Why are you passionate about you move to Amend? I mean, everybody here is very passionate about it. We spend our time doing this, right? This is what we are choosing to do with our lives. And why is that? Because we know that this gets to the root of the problem and the fundamental changes that we need. So just speak from your heart and be as creative as you want to be, or, just, but I think
I just didn't know if there was a
MP3,
particular platform for it, but apparently not. We just record it. Okay.
yeah, just record it. MP4 is what most phones record in, so you can use that. I got this new computer, and all I did was went in to record and pushed play, and then it created the link, and I sent it to Alfonso, so it worked just fine. So I didn't have to change anything though. It already recorded in a format that he could use. Any other questions on that? Thoughts? Sorry, Sandy, I misunderstood the question a little.
You want to say something about Hartman?
Yeah, so Hartman wrote a fundraising letter, Tom Hartman, and it will be sent out very soon, as he does every year. And it's generally one of the biggest fundraiser, blasts that we send, the individual blasts. It usually gets a really good response. So he's definitely still totally in support. And also with Hartman, we're hoping to connect with him after the first of the year. We haven't been on Hartman. Move to Amend hasn't been on Hartman since the pandemic started. So it's a little bit way past time. So excited to do that. Any other questions on that? Oh,
Okay.
go ahead,
ahead.
Sandy.
So I'm sorry to be monopolizing this. I remember in the past when we got these requests, it showed a little line about how close we were to the final, goal. And that, I thought that was very motivating. So I hope that, I just looked on the site now and I see the donate button, but I don't see how close we are to what we need. Is that because it hasn't begun yet? Or do we have money already in there? Just kind of cool to track where we are and then I know for me, it really hit home and I was like, oh, okay, I can give a little bit more and we'll get closer to it. Are there
Yeah,
plans?
no, that's a good point. I can definitely put it on there. I doing the tabulations for that shouldn't be hard. The only thing is, I have to update it because some money comes in, like today we had a wire transfer, so that wouldn't actually be listed in Nation Builder. So I have to figure out how to add on the backside to make sure it's accurately reflecting. Because if it comes in that way, it doesn't go in automatically into the Nation Builder financial part, if that makes sense. But that's a good point, and I will try to get that on there ASAP. Sorry about the acronym. So as soon as possible. And also I wanted to bring to, you were talking about the donate page. Greg has offered his book for anybody that becomes a sustaining donor of $29 a month or more. So we'll be kicking that off tomorrow. That's what I've been working on, the fundraising page today, working on that. All the language isn't quite there yet because I had to get to this meeting, but yeah, so it's a great opportunity to raise that up. And if y'all haven't read Greg's book yet, it's fantastic. Just wanted to put that one up there too.
Greg,
Go ahead, Greg.
I mean, I realize it's not as earth-shattering or as tantalizing as the sale of a set of maniacal digital trading cards, but anyway, I am offering that, and I'll even sign it. So if you become a sustainer for $29 a month, and we've chosen 29, because that's the number of the amendment we're really pushing for now. Some of you may be confused. Wait a second, aren't we focusing on the 28th Amendment? But if you recall, a number of months ago, we sent out an email saying that out of solidarity and out of, maybe even real legality, the 28th Amendment should have already been passed and ratified, that being the ERA. It's only the fact that they put a time frame on it. So we are acknowledging and saying that should really be the real 20th Amendment. And so the We the People Amendment should be the 29th. And so that's why we're saying 29th.
Great. Thank you for that, Greg. And you want to go ahead and go over some upcoming events with us?
Oh, okay. Just to move there. Tomorrow evening at the same time as this call, this evening is I think it's going to be a very meaningful event. So however you celebrate or commemorate, if you do it all, winter solstice, if you don't have any other plans, join us. It's going to be a very participatory event. You are all invited to, if just listen, that's fine, but certainly invited to bring something that to you speaks to the actual meaning of this period of change, of the mark of from when darkness is the longest to the beginning of lightness, and all that represents, both ecologically and every other way that lifts human and the earth realities. So join us. It is open mic. If you do choose to have and bring an offering, whether that is a poem, reading, song, dance, whatever the case may be, try to keep that to no more than 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. So that's tomorrow evening. So please join us and spread the word. End of the year live stream 2022 is set for the 30th. This will be a time when board staff and others will come and speak about what we've accomplished this year, but also what we have in the works, at least tentatively. Again, some of this will be more shaped out and firmed up following our retreat in earnest. But in general, a few things that have in mind for 2023. So join us then. And again, do share the links to this, the RSVP. Please do RSVP and share it with people in your groups and encourage them to attend. Again, this is to be announced, but tentatively, and part of this is why it's tentatively set for Thursday, the 19th, is we wanted to have something around the anniversary of Citizens United, which is the 21st coming up, hard to believe, the 13th anniversary. But we wanted to do something around that week, but maybe a day before or 2 days before, if we can get Representative Jayapal to join us. So that's one of the asks. And if her schedule allows her to participate that week, but it's a different day, then that's probably when we will have it. But for now, it's going to be on the 19th, where if we can land her, it will include whatever her message she has for us, and questions, comments, suggestions to her, but also coupled with that, a lobby training on springboarding our effort at introducing We the People Amendment in the next session. So those are the events at this point nationally coming up.
Thank you so much, Greg. Okay, so we're at affiliate grassroots announcement. My favorite part of this agenda, because I already knew all the other stuff. So this is where we get to hear from you, our you know, the backbone of our organization. So yes, Megan.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say something about what happened with me this month, because it happened after our meeting, and Dawn could fill in anything else that needs to be said. But I was invited to participate in the Last Chance Alliance in California's Day of Action against Big Oil. And I spoke at the Sacramento site, and we did it on the day after their action, because the California Energy Commission was meeting to discuss why it was that gas prices were so out of control, gasoline prices were so out of control. So I mentioned in my speech that until we can pass an amendment to get rid of corporate constitutional rights, corporations are going to continue to be abusive to people and price gouge them. And when I spoke at the California Energy Commission, I also made a, not so much a move to amend pitch, but said I didn't understand why we allow these oil corporations to manipulate the market, which is what they did. They all closed for routine maintenance at the same time, because they knew that it would drive up the price of gasoline, and they could make record profits between 500 and 1700% over what they did last year. And that those kind of obscene profits were what is driving Governor Newsom in our state to try and pass a penalty for price gouging. And I hope that they somehow come up with something that can stand up against corporate constitutional rights. So anyway, I just wanted to say that that's what my participation was this month, and that my other move to amenders were either working or we're too far away to come. So anyway, pass.
Awesome, Megan. Thank you so much for holding that down. And two really powerful places to do it. Sandy said in the chat, Greg's book is an excellent source for stories and data from recent history to support our points regarding corporate influence on current issues. That it is. That it is. And an easy read, I mean, he's a prolific writer and is always clear and concise, and it's in real digestible pieces. Would anybody else like to get on stack for announcements? And he'll autograph the book from the one and only Greg Coleridge. Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, it
It's going to
was
be worth a fortune one day.
Yes, but you won't want to part with it. Well, Greg was down there too. Ohio is such a mess. It's so gerrymandered, and they're passing, or our state assembly is just churning out devastating bill after bill that are sponsored by just a few people, these big lobbyists, and opposed by the people who are paying attention. And one of the bills was House Joint Resolution 6, which if you're in Ohio, you're familiar with, these people on this call. And it was basically getting rid of the simple majority to win on a ballot, voters' ballot, and up to 60%, which we see how that works in Congress. And so there was a lot of, Greg was down there for it. There were a lot of other people, and we protested it, and we held it back. So it doesn't look like, well, they're not going to, we stopped it from being voted on because they didn't have the vote. So that was good. So, I mean, there's so many examples of people power, but it's also the power that we see with big money, because this should never have been on the agenda in the first place. It should never have had a hearing. But there were so many people opposed to it and went to the state house, and I don't know how many hundreds of people, but it was hundreds. And so they didn't have enough votes to pass it. And there were other examples. I don't want to go into all these things, but there's plenty of other examples. So that's good because we're stopping it, but we can't stop everything. And some other ones are passing, and we're hoping our governor vetoes it. But again, it's all these big efforts, and we're not even tackling things like climate change and poverty and homelessness, which is just out of control in so many places. We're just in gerrymandering because of the gerrymandering. So, I mean, but Move to Amend made a presence there, and I was glad that, people from around the state, Greg was one, but other people came from Dayton and where else. So thanks for everybody being there, and Move to Amend had a presence there.
Jack Lawrence.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, please, Lawrence, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about a few things that we've been working on here in California. One of them is during election campaign season, I like to sort of troll candidates that are asking for money, especially, and get them to sign the pledge. And that was a lot of fun. Now that that's over, I like to troll organizations, especially at the end of the year when there are, same thing, money. I like to get people when they're asking me for money, whether it's a candidate or an organization. So I've been joining a lot of different Zoom calls. One of them was the Center for Biological Diversity. And just in the chat, in a very respectful way, I like to bring up how Move to Amend is so applicable to whatever cause they're championing, and how important it is for them to join the coalition of organizations at movetoamend.org/organizations. And I always mention that we have over 700 organizations that are all fighting for the We the People Amendment. And so the center has all new management that didn't know that a few years ago that they had already endorsed Move to Amend, but it's started a conversation, and now they're much stronger and on board. And I was actually late attending this meeting because I was in another Zoom meeting with nuclear, what are they called? NIRS, whatever that stands for. But they're the folks that are fighting nuclear weapons and nuclear power, and fighting for a just transition of renewable energy. And I asked them to support Move to Amend and the We the People Amendment. And they actually picked my question and talked about it and actually explained to the audience what we were fighting for. And he explained it really well and said that if they're not already, strongly on board with that, they will be. So, that's a really fun thing to do, is to troll people in a respectful manner. Another thing is Jeffrey from Southern California has been reaching out consistently to Senator Padilla, asking him to introduce the Senate companion to HJR 48. And so we've had a series of 2 meetings with staff over the last year and a half or so, and we've never really heard back from the senator, and never really known if he has any issues or trouble, concerns. But he finally responded, thanks to Jeff's tenacity, and told him basically that he doesn't have, he didn't mention that he has any concerns with it at all. And he just said that he knows it's working its way through the House. And so it just kind of opened the door a little bit for us to stay on him. And I think it's just all about timing now for the senator. So now I think we just need to impress upon the senator that it's a long-term project, but to advance it, we want it introduced in the Senate as soon as possible, and that's the best way for him to support Pramila Jayapal. So good things happening in California, and I'm happy to be part of all the great people here that are working so hard to advance the We the People Amendment. Pass.
That's good news. That's good news. I'm glad that you are starting to see a little ding and chip in the armor of getting in into their sphere. So that's great news. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah. Now to follow up on Larry's statements, getting introduced, good things are happening in California. You know that a majority of California representatives are co-sponsors. Of California's 53 members of its congressional delegation, 30 are co-sponsors. So that's majority in California who are co-sponsors.
Yeah, that's excellent. And that, again, that's a great leverage that you're sharing with Padilla's office.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's another good reason for Padilla to introduce it, is that majority of representatives from his state are co-sponsors.
Yeah, excellent work being done there.
Greg,
Go ahead, Greg.
I just wonder if a point, and maybe it's already been done by those of you in California in making the case to Padilla, but that would be, it's somewhat of a stretch, but on the other hand, it isn't. It's to take those 30 congressional districts of co-sponsors and add up the number of people, and then percentage-wise, what percentage of the entire state is represented by a House member who supports what you were being asked to support. If it's more than 50%, then probably is right, because they try to make congressional districts roughly about the same number of people. So you would think it would be more than 50%. So maybe a talking point for what it's worth.
Thanks for that, Greg. Anyone else have anything they want to share? It's last month of the year. Any thoughts at all? Doesn't have to necessarily be what you did this month. What you're involved in, what you hope for the future. I want to share once more the link to the solstice celebration that we're having tomorrow. Again, this is, it's going to be super interactive. It's open mic. That's how we're billing it. We want to hear from y'all. We want to share with y'all and celebrate with y'all all of our accomplishments for this year and moving into next year. So I hope that you are able to make that. And And if we don't have anything else, Misha, please go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to take time to thank everyone for their efforts and everything that you do. There are people who are not aware of what's going on around us. If it's not in social media or if it's not brought up in a music video or something, but you guys are very active in the forefront and behind the scenes. And I appreciate working with you.
Thank you. We appreciate working with you too. Where are you located?
I'm in Redlands, California.
Ah, where everything gets going. Everything spreads from there. Lawrence, you had something else you wanted to raise, and thank you for that, Misha.
Yeah, I
Thank you
just
for
wanted to
being here.
say that I hope tomorrow you'll share the 4-minute Peter Coyote video at that event too, so he can be with us virtually. Just an idea, pass.
That's a good idea. We'll put it on the agenda, and as long as everything doesn't get too out of range, we'll at least definitely share it in the chat. We want to make sure that folks that are showing up definitely have an opportunity to talk. We did share that again in a blast, and it's gotten thousands of views. It's in the responses. We don't normally get a lot of feedback on YouTube in our comment sections, but we got a lot of really positive feedback from it so far, and we will keep raising it up and sharing it without a doubt. Very well done. And again, thanks to Santa Clara County for pushing that forward. It's been a year in the process, and they should be very proud of, just one step at a time, and pushed it. And then, somebody else picked it up and ran with it and picked it up and ran with it. So just a real collaborative effort, which is how we're going to get this stuff done. So absolutely, we'll be sharing it. Okay, if we don't have anything else, or if nobody else has anything they want to share, we don't want to hold you up. The meeting went pretty quickly today. I see you, Michael. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, ultimately, and I've said this to Lawrence as well, that ultimately, I think the way we get it done is inevitably we have to define the stance of not being a co-sponsor of HJR 48 in the House or the Senate as the pro-corruption stance. I think that's ultimately how we get it done. They don't be too politically toxic to not be a co-sponsor.
No, absolutely. And I agree with you. It is the anti-corruption stance. It is the anti-corruption amendment. So very good point. And I just want to thank you all for all that you've done. If we don't see you tomorrow, we'll be able to lavish that on you again tomorrow. But truly, being on this journey with y'all is, it makes what's going on in this world bearable. So thank you for all that you are doing. Our next meeting will be January 17th. Same time, same Zoom. I will check into the Zoom with the Zoom folks and find out if there's something we're missing or why folks are having an issue getting in, because we are supposed to be able to. Once you're registered, there is a question, what affiliate are you in? You put that in, and then you should be able to link right in. Maybe, because this is an internal meeting. So we do have that step, and I'll make sure that that's not kind of tripping us up somewhere. Y'all have a wonderful holiday and be blessed. And again, I hope to see you all tomorrow.
Happy holidays.
Thank you all.
Happy holidays, everybody. Good to see you.
Take
Thank you,
care.
Sandy.
Take
You too.
care.
Great job.